Welcome back to my second edition of Snax Mix, where I just kind of talk about Guild Wars 2, state of the game, where I'm at in the game, and I kind of just show some footage of some gameplay that I've had lately, just to give you an idea of what I've been up to. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about today, more than anything probably, is the Engineer class, and not any specifics, just kind of my feelings on it so far, and just kind of what I've been doing. And I'd love to hear people's comments and if they're playing the Engineer and what they found to work well for them and what doesn't work well. One thing I'm learning pretty quick, you can see I'm doing some combat right here, is that the flamethrower kit is great when you're fighting groups of enemies. And although I like grenades, boy, the flamethrowers just seems a lot better to me. Now, when you're fighting single targets, the flamethrower is obviously not my choice. So what I find myself doing is alternating between the flamethrower and the rifle. And you can see what I did is I remapped some of my keys at the bottom. I've got my two potions on, well, my potion on Q. I'm going to remap the 8 key to an X, and then the E key is my flamethrower. That just makes it easier because when you're using it on that hand, as opposed to jumping all the way to 6, 7, and 8. And one thing that's wrong with the flamethrower, you can kind of see it here, is that sometimes you just miss your targets completely. Like, it just shoots off in a strange direction. And I'm not sure if that's just the animation, because it seems like it's doing damage still to large groups. So here I am. I flip back to my rifle for this veteran, because the veterans are the harder of the groups. So I really find switching between the two is really working out well for me. Plus I'm using the two potions, this crazy frenzy potion, and the other one that it also does, I think it does fury. So those two potions, when I kick them both off and equip my flamethrower, I just take down groups like nobody's business. So that's kind of so far that's been my mode with the Engineer, at least in PvE, is switching from rifle and flamethrower is just really fun to do as well. So that's part of it too. I just like to have fun. I'm not always looking for a min-max, like, perfect build, but I do like this flamethrower / rifle combo. Now, as opposed to traits, I've kind of just spread my traits out, which may be a mistake. I probably should have focused a lot of my traits into firepower, because that, of course, is what flamethrower is created by or controlled by. And then also the other thing is that I put some traits into alchemy, which lets me, it actually automatically drinks potions when you get down to a certain amount of health and all that. So that's more focused on kind of healing stuff, and I don't know, that's kind of maybe diluting my character a little bit. Maybe I should have only done firepower until I maxed it out. I'm kind of curious to see, actually, and I may go respec my traits, if I max out firepower, like, what kind of power will I have, especially since I tend to lean towards just using my guns and drinking my potions. I'm not sure how important it would be to have many other traits except for those two. Now, the one downside is, about the Engineer that I found is the turrets to me just seem very weak. They don't live that long, they have very low health, and they just don't seem to be that effective. I can't imagine them being much better in PvP, except maybe in PvP people would ignore them more than the PvE mobs do. So maybe it would be more effective, I don't know. But again, you're also stuck in one place. So I'm tending away from turrets until they do something about them, and maybe they'll change them someday to make them a little bit more useful. But right now I feel like I'm really just annihilating everything with my Engineer the way I've got it set up. And I've heard people complain about the Engineer, about how difficult it is and how much micromanage it is. And that can be true, I think, depending on what traits you take. I think of the classes so far, the Engineer does seem to be relatively complex. I think it compares up there with Elementalists, which also has some complexity to it when you have to switch between builds and that sort of thing. Although I have seen other YouTube videos out there about the Elementalist where they're, speccing dual daggers in PvE, and they're doing great. So, it's hard to say. I guess it's all your playstyle and what you do. And really what you should do, I think, if you're playing an Engineer, is just do what you enjoy. Because if you find yourself copying somebody else's build, a lot of times it's just not going to be any fun. So I'm just kind of sticking with what I like right now, and that's rifles and flamethrowers. So you can't beat that. So we're running along here. I love these banners too. I think the warrior drops this banner, and I love picking these things up because it gives you swiftness. There you go. Whoop, and we're running. So I love that. So right now I'm actually questing the Dissa Plateau. I wanted to explore as much as possible before I level up, and actually I've edited the video here. I've actually shown up at a city where I'm reviving all these soldiers because of some giant rampaging. But I'm trying to take my time as much as possible, but I also want to get somewhat into the story, my personal story, which requires you to level up to some extent. And actually, what I have found is that by doing all the starting areas, your experience does diminish. So if you're over level 20 and you're doing the starting zone for another race, the experience that you get, even though you're down leveled, is not going to be as extreme as if you had just continued along your path. And that may be a good thing, as it keeps you from getting to 80 as quickly. I did want to mention about the engineer, how when you switch to flamethrower, one problem I've seen is that the first attack, which if you look at the first attack on my bar, it's the rifle shot. Well, the first attack on the flamethrower is just the regular flame burst. The problem I find is that every time you switch, it's actually not in auto attack mode. You either have to enable it, but even if you enable it, when you switch back to rifle and then back to flamethrower, it actually doesn't go to auto attack anymore. I don't know if that's on purpose, but it is kind of annoying because I end up spamming that one key when I'm in flamethrower anyway, so I'd rather it just stay auto attack all the time, even when I switch back and forth. So right now what I'm doing is actually trying to take on this champion giant that is raging in our city right now. And of course these aren't other players, these are just NPCs, and there's no way I'm gonna beat this. I just wanted to show you guys this giant because this is it's just one of the cool huge creatures that is in Guild Wars 2. I mean, they really did an excellent job. You can see when he lights up, it's too bad it's not daytime. When he lights up, you can actually see all the detail they put into these creatures. And this is just one of them. I have another video of this huge swamp creature that we fought. It's like almost like a void shadow creature that was in the swamp in Queensdale. And the animations and just the size and the epicness of it is incredible. I'm not used to now. If you remember EverQuest, there were giants like this that were pretty awe-inspiring. And it's neat that Guild Wars 2 is kind of embracing that feeling because it does. Games don't always do that. Now I'm kind of lagging out here or something. What's going on? Okay, well, I'm probably gonna fail epically on this guy because look what he's done to the city. He's pretty much annihilated every NPC in the city. But this is one of the fun things about Guild Wars 2 is just to run around and do stuff like this. Now see, I'm in my flamethrower. Now if you notice while I was talking about the hotkey, if you look at my left button, usually there's like an arrows that now you can't see it because now like I said, I'm failing. But it usually has the circle around it, or like a little arrows around it showing that it's auto attack, and it went away because I switched back and forth. There's no way I'm going to survive this. Looks like he's got the obstructed attack, so he can't actually get me. Oh, no. So I'm done. Well, anyway, so the point is I was talking about the engineer. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on in the Guild Wars 2 world, too. That was kind of the point of this little snacks mix that I put together because I really just wanted to kind of touch on a little bit of everything. Of course, today I guess I focused more on the engineer. But currently in Guild Wars 2, there's still, the news hasn't changed a whole lot. If you look at they have a wiki and they have their news status updates, and not a lot has changed. They're still talking about hacked accounts. They're still talking about banning people for exploits and all that sort of thing. They're also have talked a little bit about World vs. World rewards. Now, I have a World vs. World video about supply and protecting your Dolyaks, and the reason I did that is because protecting your Dolyaks in World vs. World gave you immense rewards. I loved the experience that you got from that because it just seemed so. It was a pretty simple thing to do. You just escort your supply, you protect it from other players, and you would get an inordinate amount of experience and money. And I guess I should have realized at the time that was probably a mistake, because now what they are doing is actually making a change to how much experience and rewards you get from the Dolyak World vs. World event, which is too bad. I mean, I enjoyed doing that, but it does encourage people to get away from those supply caravans. It's important to protect the supply caravans for the whole game, but I can see why they would want to make it so that you're not incentivized to just sit by the supply caravans way back in the back lines, not really contributing to the battle at all. And I have some World vs. World footage that I might put out as well to kind of show you guys combat when we actually had some good footage of us going into Stone Mist Keep, which is the center part of the Eternal Battlegrounds, and we just got annihilated by the NPCs, but it was neat to be part of a large group like that actually swarmed that inner base. So that may be something that I put up at some point in time. Right now you can see I'm just doing an escort quest, and here I'm just showing off more of my rifle / flamethrower build. I don't see myself changing this build actually between now and 80, so this is kind of what I've been doing. Unless I find something incredibly neat, this is going to be it. So what else is going on in the world of Guild Wars 2? One of the things that they've, a lot of people complained about, and this, it's only been about a week and a half, I guess, since the game came out, if you count the head start. And, a lot of people were upset because the trading post has been down pretty much ever since launch. They had all kinds of issues with it. Some people had access to it, some people didn't. There's been other things like you're always put into an overflow, because there were so many people on your server. A lot of these issues are going away. The population is starting to spread out naturally throughout the zones. And so I'm encountering the overflow a lot less than I used to. I kind of encounter it a lot in Lion's Arch, but that's to be expected because Lion's Arch is a central hub for the game. But beyond that, I haven't seen the overflow issues as much. We're protecting these cows here, and this guy doesn't want his meat taken. But you can see me just blasting these wolves with this flamethrower. Flamethrower and potions, and I'm not popping the potions enough, but you get the idea anyway. So, and then the Black Lion Trading Company, of course, the trading post, the auction house. A lot of people were gnashing their teeth kind of in the first week of that because the hit was down. And it's up for all players now. So, I can't think of one issue that I've encountered. Every once in a while you'll have a disconnect. Today I had a couple disconnects, but it wasn't anything crazy. A lot of times it's like you've played for 3 or 4 hours and you get disconnected. And that to me doesn't seem too extreme at this point in time. And it could just be my connection, I don't know. So, other than that, boy, the game is just running smooth. A lot of people... the launch is a tough thing for all companies, so I think Guild Wars 2, they really did a good job at it. And look how cool my engineer looks. Sorry, I just can't help but look at him every once in a while and just admire how awesome he is. And I probably played a non-unique class. I think a Char engineer, from what I've seen so far, it seems like engineers are relatively uncommon, although I do see them. I see a lot of Mesmers on our server, but I think Mesmer is also relatively uncommon. And one thing I never see anything of is a Char Mesmer. So if you want to be a unique class, then be a Char Mesmer, because boy, they're totally vacant here. I started up an Ashura Necromancer. Actually, I changed my race for my Necromancer from Char to Ashura because I think that's kind of unique. I always like to have that unique class. So anyway, we're here in this town, and I'm gonna probably edit out some more stuff here. Probably end this off with a Vista viewing and call it a day. So I hope you enjoyed my quick snacks mix, my state of the game for Guild Wars 2, what I'm up to, what what ArenaNet's up to, and kind of what's going on in the game. So hope you've enjoyed, and we're going to end this up with a Vista, and I will catch you again another time. So thanks for joining me.